afternoon, How Restaurants Win in the Age of the Customer, presented by Forrester Consulting. My name is Janet Hall, and I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Fishbowl. Today's event is the culmination of a research project jointly commissioned this year by Fishbowl and the Coca-Cola Company to better understand the state of data and analytics in the restaurant industry and the associated challenges and opportunities that brings to the industry. Forrester conducted the research, and we are excited to have Samantha No from the company present the results to you. Just a quick word about format. Feel free to submit questions anytime via the chat box. After Sam finishes the presentation, we will have the Q&A session. She will be available to answer any questions about the research, while my colleagues, Parijat Johari from Fishbowl and Paula Weeks from Coca-Cola, are available to answer industry questions. And so now I'll turn this over to Samantha.
Thank you so much, Janet. And thank you for having me. My name is Sam Ngo. I'm a researcher on the Customer Insights team here at Forrester, and we cover everything from social intelligence to marketing technology. Basically, how do you take data, turn it into insights, and then make it actionable? Today, we're going to talk a little bit about what to expect in the age of the customer, why data can present its challenges, how to leverage analytics to build better customer experiences, and then we'll conclude with a few key recommendations. As Janet mentioned, we'll have a short Q&A session at the end as well. So without further ado, empowered customers are in control. Let's start by talking about customers today. They're in control because they have access to a myriad of information right at their fingertips. Think about all the times you've been in a store and you've price checked something. Is it cheaper on Amazon? And I can get it on Prime in 2 days. They make comparisons between products and services, between your competitors. They have a lot of information. And according to our consumer data, 41% of U.S. online adults access the internet on a smartphone several times a day, and 23% have price checked on their phones in the past 3 months. So they're getting impatient with traditional marketing and advertising. They have heightened expectations for how brands communicate with and serve them. We've entered the age of the customer, where relationships determine success. The age of the customer is a 20-year business cycle where the most successful companies will continuously evolve to better understand and serve the customer. It used to be that you could be the best if you had the best product, or you got it to the market in the most efficient way. But now, anyone can disrupt your product or distribution method. But no one can recreate the relationship that you have with your customers. So you need to use your relationship and knowledge as your competitive edge. Restaurants have a good idea of this. You've always been in the service industry. You know what it's about. But you have to be obsessive about your guests to win new customers and foster loyalty. Restaurants that adopt a guest-first mentality across the entire organization will build deep relationships that are needed to drive repeat visits and increase spend while creating experiences that customers crave. And they have to do it in a more efficient and cost-effective manner. That sounds pretty hard, and it is, but data is here to help you build those relationships. In order to develop strong relationships with your customers, you have to understand your guest. And for that, your business has to execute a comprehensive data and analytics strategy. Guest data is a key ingredient that restaurants will use to compete for business, but it takes the right people, tools, and process to be successful. As Janet mentioned, Fishbowl, in collaboration with Coca-Cola, worked with Forrester Consulting to evaluate how restaurants are using data and analytics to develop a more complete view of their guests to drive more predictable sales. Our study confirmed that the restaurant industry is under many of the same pressures as other consumer-facing businesses. In order to stay competitive in the marketplace, they must understand their guests. We surveyed 100 US-based IT and marketing decision makers who are responsible for guest analytics at restaurant chains of 25 or more locations, and conducted 6 in-depth interviews with leaders of restaurant chains of 500 or more. Here's what we found. Data capture for restaurants is becoming table stakes. We found that most restaurants collect a myriad of information from their guests. It ranges from traditional data, like guest satisfaction scores from surveys at 75%, and then some newer things, social media reviews and discussions, 73%, and then some behavioral data as well. Over 60% are collecting data from how their guests interact with them in a restaurant and how they interact with them online. So with this diversity of data, we have to understand how to use it. And also think about sources that are expanding. For example, wearables, smart vehicles, home appliances, all of these Internet of Things enabled devices promise to provide customer data that was previously impossible to capture. And we know that they're getting top-level support as well. Despite being at different stages of their journeys to data proficiency, each interviewee claimed that their leadership was driving a strong guest data agenda. Quoted here, as you see, someone said, "Our CEO is a data hound. He loves the work we're doing." So you know that people are getting support from the top. And they're also very confident in what they're capturing. We asked them, how confident are you in your organization's ability to capture the following guest data? And as you can see, most people are confident in the data. Whether it's self-reported guest data or the behavioral data, such as, like we talked about, in the restaurant or their online behaviors, decision makers believe that they're capturing the right things and that they have the data in their hands. But merging these types of data allows for deeper understanding of their customers. And you're going beyond what customers say they're satisfied or dissatisfied with, and you can actually see what they do. Well, this is all in the name of a customer. Restaurant guests in 2015 wield more power and have higher expectations than ever before. They search for location information on their mobile phones, and they want to be able to order food, reserve a table, and see and create reviews online in the spur of a moment. This is all part of their dining experience. And this technology use among restaurant guests provides strong opportunities for marketers to increase revenue by leveraging data to better engage their guests with targeted communications and offers. For example, marketers can say kids eat free, can send a kids eat free offer to a guest with children, or let a loyalty member know when they're within the vicinity of a new location when they're traveling. You might be on a family road trip, for example, and you're getting to the point where you've been in the car for 2 hours and your kids are getting pretty restless. How great would it be if you got a notification on your phone that said, well, at the next exit is one of your favorite restaurants. Take a break. Come join us. Guests are expecting that kind of technology. And a vice president of a customer engagement digital innovation at a multinational casual dining restaurant company said, "We have guests that expect technology to be part of the experience." I was at a shopping mall recently, and I remember walking into the restaurant. I put my name in and entered my phone number into their tablet, and then they told me, they'd send me a text message when my table was ready. And I just thought that was a great experience. Granted, sample size of 1, but I didn't have to collect a buzzer where I had to stay within a certain area in order for it to go off, so I knew my table was ready. I was able to use a device that I had, my mobile phone, that I keep on me at all times, and that was part of my dining experience. It was easy for me to know when my table was ready, and I didn't have to wait in the lobby. I could do other things. I could do what I wanted to do. So that's where the opportunity is. But data also presents its challenges. Guest-facing technology adoption is fairly scattered. We found that beyond POS systems and online ordering for takeout, guest-facing technology is not really widespread. You might expect something like online reservations or loyalty program to be pretty integrated into a guest experience, but it's really not. How many times have you tried to make an online reservation and you've actually had to call instead because that option wasn't available? where you're trying to set up a lunch meeting, a business lunch meeting, and you have to interrupt your day to call. I've only seen that text message service that I was just talking about in 2 other places. So it's just a way to think about how guests are needing technology and how it might not be there for them. Another example that I was thinking of as I was looking at this data was how many times a server has come to your table, and you and your guests may be on a mobile device or chatting with each other, and you haven't really made a decision on what you want to drink or what you want to order. And often the server has to come back to the table multiple times before they actually get anything out of you. And so I was just thinking, what if there is a mobile device, a tablet on the table where you could actually order your drinks first whenever you're ready, and your server comes with the drinks and they don't have to make multiple trips to your table at once. That's what you want to use your data for. But you also want to make sure that that's what your customers want as well. You have to be able to test your theories, and this might sound great and it might sound like a great idea, but the whole point is, figure out whether or not your customers are wanting that. And the problem with that is that your data tends to sit in very different places. Understanding what your customer wants also means getting data that's manageable and comprehensive and in a state that you can do something with it. But as you can see from this quote here, someone on an interview told us that data is in really disparate sources. They have their POS, they have their 800 number, they have surveys, they have mystery shoppers, and all of these reports are handed in separately. So imagine the time, skills, and resources it takes to merge these things together. We found that a top technical challenge was data silos. And that comes to no surprise. Often your mobile team is separate from your social team, and it's separate from your guest experience team, that's separate from your guest satisfaction team, and you get the picture. Data isn't always together. And corporate isn't exactly organized to have that inflow of data either. It's harder to combine data to get high-level insights if people aren't communicating with each other and if the data isn't coming into the same place. What doesn't help is that our survey takers also listed staffing as their second most challenging aspect of their guest data strategy. 36% say that they don't have enough staff, and then 31% listed lack of data skills and staff as one of their top 3 challenges in accomplishing their guest data strategy goals. Being able to get a full view of the customer and current trends is challenging without having the resources to do it, and if your departments aren't communicating. And then on top of that is the integration hurdle, the technology itself. There's a growing mass of data out there, and the technology isn't necessarily built to support that if you have different technologies in each department. Restaurant guests will interact with their restaurant of choice in many different ways, and it could be in a number of channels. So restaurants create experiences, they collect data, they refine their operations and marketing using multiple technologies right now that don't necessarily merge or talk to each other. In order to find actionable insights, it's a really complex and challenging process. So you have to think about the channels you use to collect data, social, surveys, behavioral, and then think about the barriers to the way the data is coded. You might have multiple unstructured, structured, solicited, unsolicited sources, and being able to tie them together is really overwhelming. As one interviewee told us, we're experimenting with capabilities to allow guests to place orders away from the restaurants. Kiosk orders, mobile orders, and we're also increasing technology in the restaurant. Then we're tying all of this to our CRM. So again, as you can see, everything is pretty murky and becoming more and more complicated. But it's worth it. Despite all that trouble, restaurant marketers and IT professionals strongly agree that leveraging guest data in marketing and operations would give advantage over the competition. 57% say that it would improve operations. It does improve operations and guest experiences. And 50% say that it improves marketing campaigns. Well, it all goes back to the customer. Restaurants are selling a product that are inherently tied to an experience, and providing the customer with that experience that they're expecting is no doubt crucial. But remember, it's the relationship you have with your customer that matters. So to deepen that relationship, the restaurant must define and execute a successful analytics strategy and implement the right people, process, and platforms. So leverage analytics to build better customer experiences. While data management tools are a priority, restaurants need to continue to improve and innovate guest data collection. Guest surveys aren't going away, but as companies deploy more customer-facing technologies to meet consumer demands, they have to also think about the benefits that the technology offers to capture more data about guest behavior. Again, we're talking about our interviewee previously said they wanted to take mobile orders. Are they able to collect data about where that person is when they're making their mobile order? Are they able to, and can they find trends and segment their audience based off of this? If we go back to the family road trip example, you might have beacon technology installed in major tourist cities where you can pinpoint your loyal customers and be able to send them that notification that says, you know, come in tonight for a meal. And also, you know, example today as well is the Starbucks mobile ordering app. That's another, you know, real life example, I suppose, of being able to order with your mobile device and just pick up at the counter. So you're speeding up service. Not everyone wants that, but there are customers who do. So being able to test your customers, see what they really want, and implement the technologies that help them to help better their experience. And there's been significant investment being made in staffing to support guest data initiatives as well. That was a consistent thread among the high-performing companies we interviewed. We did see that the laggards tended to undervalue the analytics team. For example, there was a chain of about 500 locations that only had 2 people responsible for all of their consumer strategy and insights. We saw that the most successful organizations were investing heavily in data-focused talent. So we know that restaurants who implement the right technologies are also beating their revenue goals. Forrester survey reveals that companies that have implemented it, have integrated data platform technologies, have beat their revenue goals 77%. 77% of restaurants that have implemented an integrated data platform have beat their revenue goals. 72% that have consistent data collection processes beat their revenue goals, and 74% that have dashboards for key operational performance also beat their revenue goals. So it's not only about having the right technology in place, but that dashboard feature, being able to communicate that and have people realize the benefits of your data and analytics is crucial as well. So what can you do to get started? First, define a comprehensive guest data and analytics strategy. You need to carefully plan the execution of a guest data strategy. We're talking about the real business goals that you're linking to the data you're collecting. You want to find the what and why of the data. Like someone said on one of our interviews, the best thing we ever did is come together as an organization to decide on our vision. We called a timeout and said, what are we building? What are we trying to achieve? Evaluate your current state, what existing technology is in your restaurants, and what do you need to get the results you desire? And then set a realistic agenda to take you to the right technological and organizational structure. Then think about the who. Who in the organization needs to be involved? And it may not be the people in your marketing and IT department alone. It could be someone in research and development. It could be the person in charge of your 1-800 number. It goes beyond, it might go beyond what you think. And then hire the right data and technical staff. You want to train your existing staff and emphasize an appreciation for the importance of data processes across the organization. And then help them set the expectations that the collaboration that you have across the organization is required to be successful. The analytics tools and processes you establish will only work well if the people in your organization buy in. So you have to make sure you engage stakeholders from all levels of the organization. So you might be engaging developers, data scientists, marketers. They all might be working side by side. But remember that they don't always speak the same language. So a report that you send to one may differ from a report you're sending to the other, but they might be linked reports that have similar insights, just said in a different way. And at the beginning, that might be important to get people to buy in. Then invest in the right technology partners. Take a look at platforms. Building everything in-house is a risky proposition. The skills might not exist in your current organization, and it could take much longer to implement. That could result in poorly integrated technology, and it's a mess. A safer option is to plan your technology roadmap and to work with your vendors or system integrators to make a vision a reality. That might be talking to your current technology providers and seeing how you can merge different technologies from different teams and get them to start talking, if that's possible with your current technology. But it also might mean figuring out your business goal first and then reevaluating the technology you need to get there. And lastly, set up a measurement plan. In order to continuously optimize your marketing efforts, you need to be able to measure your effectiveness in reaching the strategic goals you set forth. For each stage of your transformation, set clear, actionable tasks you will execute. Establish metrics of success, and hold your marketing organizations to these measures. You can't prove your value if you can't link it to a measurable result. And so, like I said, start with your business goal and then work your way from there. For example, your metrics. Are your KPIs clearly defined? Who's your audience for this specific plan? Are there delivery channels that you've specifically identified and are going to start out with? Insights derived from integrated data sources can help you change your business. But it all starts with creating a strategy around guest data that will help you take action to better meet your customers' expectations and then exceed them. Thank you very much, and I believe we will open it to Q&A.
Sam, thank you so much. We really appreciate that, and I think we all probably take away a lot of insights from it. The floor is open for questions, and we have a couple that have already come in, so let me start with those.
Sure.
And these are around the research, so this would be for you, Sam. Which industry segments did you look at, and did you find any differences between them in terms of investments in or expected investments in analytics?
Sure. So we looked at both quick service restaurants and full service restaurants. There was some fast casual, well, it went from fast casual to fine dining, but a majority of them were casual restaurants. In general, we found that full service restaurants tended to have greater technology adoption than quick service restaurants, and that would be across a couple of things. Email marketing platform, big data architecture, integrated guest data platforms, all at a higher percentage than quick service. I believe full service was 68% for email marketing platforms, and QSR was about 38%, something like that. And the interviews also pretty much said about the same thing. There have probably been more opportunities for full-service restaurants to get information because the in-restaurant experience is so much longer and more involved. So that probably led them to be a little bit ahead of QSR and analytics investments. But technology could possibly level the playing field. The QSRs that we interviewed offered a wide range of digital channels where guests can order food. And they're collecting information and behavioral information on each one, so it's possible that they catch up.
Great, thank you. I have a question here about marketing budgets. From what you saw in the survey and in the interviews, are the best-in-class restaurants increasing their budgets for analytics, whether we're talking about technology, people, or processes? What are we seeing with budgets, essentially?
Yeah, so we're actually seeing increased budgets across the board for technology, people, and processes. Our leaders, what we consider leaders, were really making heavy investments in all those areas. And there's definitely a very strong strategic push from the executive suite towards guest data analytics. In terms of staff roles, they're investing heavily in people who have the right skill set to do the things they need them to do, and especially in analytics roles. And I think there was an interviewee who told us that out of his 700 employees or so, over 350 of them are actually in tech roles. And then they're also investing in guest-facing and back-end technology too, so that they can efficiently capture, store, and analyze their guest data.
Great, thank you so much. You can go on now. We really appreciate all your help here, Sam. Thank you so much for the presentation and for the questions and answers. I think we are at the end of our session. If you'd like to just flip to the next slide.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to thank all the attendees as well. We have another analytics webinar coming up in our series on December 1st, leveraging guest personas for multi-channel marketing, which I think will be of interest to almost all of you on this webinar today. So we hope you'll attend that. We will be sending out the invitation soon, so stay tuned for that. Thank you again, and we appreciate your attendance.